Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Life podcast with me, your host, Jordan Benders. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? Now, have you ever felt like your past keeps repeating itself? I know I have. And until I finally realized why, it was pretty hard for me. My life was very hard. At least that's how I felt. And that's why I wanted to talk today about this particular topic, because I see a lot of people doing the same thing that I was doing before, especially when you become a caregiver or a spoonie, or just literally people in general. I see it all the time, especially with everything that's going on around, like not being able to go out and things like that. It's causing a lot of problems. Now, in my case, here's what I did. I used to ruin relationships a lot because I didn't want to get hurt. And that's pretty much the number one factor in regards to a lot of people doing or keep repeating their past, because we don't want to get hurt. If we get hurt one time, we try to avoid that feeling, right? So in my situation, I ruined my relationships when it came to dating, because once I felt like I was getting too close or too attached, I was like, oh no, I don't want to get hurt, so I will dump the woman. And obviously, I will end up hurting them. So I feel very bad about that, but it's just the way that I was treated before them. So it was nothing against them or anything like that. I will also hurt relationships with my friends, like friendships. I would, if I felt like they were hurting me or they were doing something that I didn't like that would make me feel hurt, I would literally cut them off my life or cut them out of my life, and I wouldn't say anything. I would just literally stop talking to them, or sometimes just because of the way that I was raised, or not the way that I was raised, but it was more like the fight or flight mode that I was on. I was more in like fight mode. I will do something back to them to kind of like show them like, hey, you want to mess with me? I'm going to mess with you. And maybe they didn't like it, and then obviously they will stop talking to me, like they will take it too personal. So we will hurt each other pretty much at that point. And then also with work, in regards to work, if I felt like I was getting used and I wasn't getting paid what I felt like I deserved to be paid, I will literally quit and move to the next job, which a lot of people do it. Like, I've seen it now that I'm a little bit older. I'm not saying that I'm old, I'm just a little bit older. I see it with younger people. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I used to do that, and now I see how it feels, and now I see how I drove people crazy, you know? But one of the things that I learned from all these experiences after I started working on myself and, like looking back, I understand now that we need to learn from our past. Because if we see it as our past keep repeating itself, where we're like, oh my gosh, this keeps repeating itself, like I keep getting hurt with guys or women, or my job never treats me the way that I want to be treated, or doesn't pay me the way that I want to be paid, and then I quit and I move on to the next job, and the same thing keeps happening over and over again, then we're not learning anything from the past. And what happens in those type of situations is that like pretty much it has happened probably my entire life. My past repeated itself. What I had to do to understand where I was doing wrong, I had to look at I had to look at myself in the mirror and ask myself probably one of the hardest questions that I have ever asked myself. And the question is, am I the one causing the problem? Because obviously, like I said, like my past keep repeating itself. At this point when I did this, I was already married. I love my wife. There's no other way to say it. Like, I love her so much, and I didn't want to break up with her, or I didn't want to leave her, because of me keep repeating my past, like I didn't want to get hurt because after we got married, like I felt like we were getting too attached. So I asked myself this question, and the answer was like, yes, I'm the one causing the problem. So what I did at that point as well is like we had to sit down. I had to sit down with my wife and try to explain pretty much how I was feeling. But because my communication skills were pretty much non-existent, we had to go to marriage counseling. Once we learned through marriage counseling how to communicate, then I was able to tell her exactly, what has happened in the past, why I did things like that, like pretty much what I just explained, and she was able to understand me a little bit more and see that pretty much I was very hurt, from past experiences. Like I was hurt, and obviously she had to work on the way to communicate with me so I wouldn't feel hurt. And then I also had to work on my own, like literally to the only way that I can explain it is to put my ego down so I could understand what she was trying to say so I wouldn't feel offended or hurt, right? So that's pretty much what I did. And one of the things that this has helped me now is literally I've been able to build new relationships. I've been able to literally communicate better with person and not with people, and not take everything personal. Like when they say something, like for example, that's why I always ask for feedback now, because I try to see it from somebody else's perspective, not just from my perspective. And I know that I'm never always right. Sometimes I might be right, sometimes I might not be right. So I understand. So that's why I always ask for feedback. And that's very important. This is one of the things that I ask my wife, especially if you're a caregiver or a spoonie, where I have to ask for feedback, because I don't know if I'm treating my wife the way that she wants to be treated, or the way that she feels comfortable being treated, So I asked her, like the other day, I just asked her, like, what am I missing? Like, what are my blind spots when it comes to taking care of you? That way I don't keep repeating my past, where I start to feel hurt if she acts a certain way when I do something for her, So once she gave me the answer, she told me like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this, and it will be better if you do this. I was like, she is right about that. So that's how it has helped me, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. Now, another thing that I want to say is that with spoonies and caregivers, or people in general, obviously our relationships are very important to us. But if we keep repeating our past, we're going to hurt those relationships. I have done it. Probably a lot of you guys have done it. So that's why I'm saying this, because when you look at it, when you don't want to repeat your past, you have to talk to the other person. Like in this case, for example, me and my wife, we talk to each other, we communicate, we learn to communicate with each other, and then we don't get hurt or anything like that. I just see it as feedback, because I'm trying to become a better husband and a better caregiver for her. And now she understands that when I ask for help, or when I ask her if she needs help, it's not because I don't think that she can't do it. It's just that I love to take care of her. So she lets me take care of her now, and the way that I am, I don't feel offended if she says no. Like that's pretty much how it has helped me. So this is something that you might want to try with your relationships, especially between caregivers and spoonies, because nobody wants to feel like a burden, and that's what a lot of spoonies feel like. So we might start building these fences where somebody asks like, hey, do you need help? And you might be like, no, just like that, like cut it off, like don't ask me anymore, and I don't need your help. So people might be like, okay, he doesn't need my help, or she doesn't need my help, so I'm just gonna move on. And actually this might help you because it has helped me. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in today's episode. I hope you guys are enjoying the episodes. I really appreciate your feedback and all your support. Now, I really like how the community is growing on Instagram. Right now it's growing on Instagram actually, but let's make everything go, especially the community on Facebook where anybody can post their stories or anything like that. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And if you want to share your story anonymously, you can send it to me at the Spoonie and Caregiver Life at gmail.com, or you can post it on the Facebook community. And don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.